From Shepherd University in West Virginia, the Department of Communication presents the university's role in translating energy challenges into business and employment opportunities, a symposium moderated by University President Mary J.C. Hendricks and featuring experts in the areas of wind, battery, and solar energy.
Welcome to Shepherd University's Inauguration Symposium, focused on the university's role in translating energy challenges into business and employment opportunities. My name is Mary Hendricks, and it is such a pleasure to be here with you, just to welcome you to our campus, and also to share with you that we have an all-star cast joining us today to tell us about the latest technologies in sustainable energy. So it is a privilege and a pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Michael Polsky, who is the founder, president, and chief executive officer of Invenergy in Chicago. He is a pioneer and entrepreneur in the energy space, and he is going to tell us today an extraordinary story about his career journey and his insights into the future for sustainable energy. Mr. Polsky, thank you for joining us.
I thought I would start by telling you a little bit about my personal life as an immigrant to this country, my career as an energy entrepreneur, and the difference that university education made for me, and I'm sure will make for a lot of other people. This story is a lot to do with changes happening in our world and in the energy field. Shepherd University, in my opinion, can be a beacon for this change, both brilliant opportunity for its students and faculty, as well as for our world as a whole. So a little bit my personal story here. So in 1976, at the age of 26, I arrived to the United States from Ukraine, because at that time was part of the Soviet Union. On my outward appearances, I had almost nothing going for me. I only had $200 in my pocket, some suitcases filled with really possessions that were worthless here, and virtually no knowledge of how to speak English language. At the time, I thought that I came with really very little, and I'll have really difficult time here. However, what I brought with me, like later understood, was a priceless possession, is my education. I had attended a graduate from the university in Kyiv called Kyiv Polytechnic Institute. I had originally wanted to study applied physics or electronics or some other kind of fancy discipline at that time. Unfortunately, my family was not wealthy or well connected. Also, we were Jewish, which further decreased my chances really to be accepted to those programs. Instead, I enrolled in the thermal engineering program, which was much less in demand. It's kind of considered to be not an interesting field. This course of study mainly had to do with thermal power plants operating primarily on coal and to a lesser degree on natural gas. So I got into the energy kind of mostly by chance. I graduated from this program with the equivalent of the master's degree right around the time the Soviet Union was letting immigrations for Jewish people. So I applied and I was permitted to leave, and also I was accepted to the United States as a refugee. So I came in 1976, just about when the electricity industry was beginning to undergo some historical changes. So in 1973, America faced with massive energy crisis from OPEC oil embargo. In response, Congress took several actions, including promoting energy efficiency and conservation. We've heard that before, right? In 1978, it passed a new law called Public Utilities Regulatory Policies Act, or PURPA. PURPA set conditions that required electric utilities to buy power from certain types of privately owned power plants that would be more efficient than existing plants. At the time, nobody realized the historic nature of this law. By looking back, it was the first step opening up the monopoly-controlled electricity industry, which had existed almost from the time Thomas Edison invented his first light bulb. Purpose-created competition also resulted in innovation and in fact created brand new industry, sort of called independent power production. It is interesting that crisis in the oil sector led to fundamental shift in the power sector. This was an early lesson for me that challenges that existed at the time can create major business opportunities, and business opportunities can lead to creativity and innovation. One of the great things about capitalism is its desires to innovate, improve by building businesses that can help us address biggest challenges that we face. It's interesting at that time that most of the electricity industry, which is electric utilities, did not embrace competition. In fact, many utilities appealed PURPA all the way to the United States Supreme Court, which was, and the law was later upheld by the court in 1982. After PURPA passed, I was working at an engineering firm that designed mainly coal-fired plants. Because of the new opportunity in the industry, entrepreneurs who had virtually no experience in energy came to us, to the firm, and we personally asked us to help them to design this new type of power plants that was allowed by PURPA. It was not too long before I decided that I could do this also myself too. So I just saw a unique opportunity where I could utilize my skills as an engineer as well and create something new. It was just interesting for me that I could also do this as well. So I didn't know whether I could be successful or not, but I thought, what, I really have nothing to lose, I'll just try. So I started. Since I didn't have any money, I teamed up with a financial partner to form my first company called Indic Energy. You see that on the slide. I had expertise, but I had no money. So he got the money, and therefore he got majority of the company. Things went very well at Indic. Unfortunately for me, things went so well that one day my partner fired me in an attempt to take away my share of the company. He thought that I got too much already, okay? So they showed me not so nice part of capitalism, which is greed. Eventually, the American legal system prevailed in part, at least, so I got some of the consideration for my success in Indic. However, although I felt very, very disappointed at the time, I felt like really the world crumbled at me, I didn't give up my entrepreneurial dream. I immediately started another company called Skygen Energy, which eventually grew up to be a much bigger company than Indic had ever been. So over the course of 16 years, between 1985 and 2001, at Indic and Skygen, I developed many natural gas and one coal-fired plant. In fact, I developed one of the last, if not the last, coal-fired plant permitted in northeastern United States in Turners Falls, Massachusetts. You see it on the slide here too. In 2001, I saw the opportunity to capitalize on our success, so I sold Skygen to one of the industry's largest companies called Calpine. But immediately afterwards, I was ready to begin again and founded my current company, which is the third one, in Energy, later that year. I guess I neither wanted to stay still nor waste any time thinking what to do next. Energy was the field that I knew best, and also I thought there would be new opportunities opening in the future. I thought there was always something coming. When we started in energy, our focus has still been on natural gas. After acquiring and operating gas projects for a couple of years, we started looking at other opportunities that might be available to us. In early 1980s, the first commercial scale wind farms has gone up and blew in primarily in blustery mountain passes of California. These wind turbines were primitive. They were built on a small scale with the small towers and provided only enough electricity to maybe power 5 to 10 homes at the time. Over the next 20 years, the wind technology continued to develop. By By the time we started looking at wind energy in 2003, the wind output of typical wind turbines has increased 10, 20 times from that what we saw originally. And more importantly, the cost of technology has fallen rather dramatically. Meanwhile, the terrorist attacks of 9/11 and events that followed after that had created focus on energy as a national security issue. This was similar to the oil shocks of 70s. There was also growing recognition that our energy usage may impact in climate. Also, there would be, and I always thought it would be beneficial for this country to have diversified energy portfolio. These were the realities of the world as we were looking for the next market opportunity. That was led us to take a shot at wind energy. Our decision was not about ideology. As you know, you heard before, I worked all my life on coal. So it was not about also my ambition to change the world. It was just as a good business opportunity that we wanted to capitalize on. Since Invenergy's first wind project went online in 2004, we have become the world's largest independent, privately held renewable energy company. We have placed more than 3,400 wind turbines into service in 6 different countries. As a side note, just to feel good, our facilities have contributed to 80 million tons of CO2 reduction, which is equivalent to about 17 million cars off the road annually. Invenergy works hard to stay ahead of the changing world. Since launching our wind business, we have expanded into solar, battery storage technology, as well as liquefied natural gas and water technology. We have also innovated by selling renewable energy to new customers. Before we used to sell only to utilities, but last year we sold electricity from wind to industrial giants and data center providers, including Google's 3M, owning Corning, Equinox, Amazon. Invenergy is continuing to grow and look toward the future. We are constantly asking, what is next? In Invenergy, there is only one question, what is next? We are constantly assessing the reality of the world and trying to stay ahead of where the world is really moving. Being on frontiers of change in the energy industry has been one of the most important things for me personally as an entrepreneur. My education has made it possible. For that reason, I believe very strongly in the role of educational institution, university like Shepherd's here to play a catalyst for this change. The world is changing. We all know this. The fundamentals ways across many aspects of our life, okay? I mean, look around us. Today we can use our thumbprint, if you push on the iPhone, to unlock handheld supercomputer. 20 years ago, iPhone would have been considered a supercomputer. That let us use FaceTime, Uber, Snapchat, and many other applications, take selfies. I mean, it's amazing. This is now the language that we speak. But just 10 years ago, nobody here even heard a word of iPhone. Although the transformation is happening with how we produce, consume, and conserve energy, it's not noticeable really in our daily life compared to high tech. But nevertheless, there are profound changes also happening in energy. And Shepherd University and its students have an important role to play in this energy transformation. So this university must be a beacon of change. Embracing change is rarely easy. Change makes us uncomfortable and even afraid. There are, unfortunately, always winners and losers. Energy innovation may sound exciting and abstract, but in many people, especially here in West Virginia, as one of America's great energy states, it creates doubts and uncertainty about livelihoods and the way of life. We can shy away from the honest and open dialogue about this, no matter how difficult it might be. In my career, I have seen consequences when companies try to hold on the world around them while the world around them changes. When Purple passed, and I've seen it firsthand, all the utilities fought it. Sometimes This can work for a little while. Sometimes you can win some battles in between. However, this comes at a major cost. When the world is moving in a new direction, there are new opportunities being created today. The utility companies that fought PURPA ended up paying double penalty. They expended a lot of resources trying to block the progress, and they missed on some of the biggest opportunities that were available in front of them. As a matter of fact, I always capitalize on their inability to move forward. So being on the forefront of a change prevents you from falling behind in a changing world. And Shepherd University is facing a challenging energy world head-on and preparing students for West Virginia energy future. Today, I got a tour of the impressive campus's sustainability site. Obviously, it's the first step, but run by the Institute of Environmental and Physical Sciences. It was great to see teaching tools and energy assets like outdoor laboratory, on-site energy and solar generation, sustainable food production at the greenhouses, electrical vehicle charging station, and biodiesel processing. I mean, it's amazing. I would never have thought that I would see this in West Virginia, but I did. These are great ways for students to learn about sustainability and energy. Just as important, they demonstrate that Shepherd University is on the frontiers of change. With a strong environmental and physical sciences program at the Shepherd University, students will be familiar with the concept of ecosystem. Ecosystem play an important role in biology, and this concept applies to innovation as well. Entrepreneurial ecosystems bring together all the elements that are essential for advancing new companies and new ideas, like universities, corporations, investor, government agencies, mentors, and of course, students, entrepreneurs. When I started my first company, entrepreneurial ecosystem in Chicago really did not exist. In 1985, the word entrepreneur did not have the cool meaning as it has today. A lot of people thought that I was changing some wild idea, but I think majority of people assumed that I simply was too difficult of a person to keep a job in a normal company. Needless to say, I did not have too many people I could turn to for help building my company. Encouraging entrepreneurship and innovation, especially among students with a focus on energy, has been passion of mine because of early challenges I faced. There are two programs that I have been involved that I want to mention here. The first is the Polsky Center. You hear my name here, for entrepreneurship, which was launched in late 1990s. The Polsky Center is a part of Booth School of Business at the University of Chicago. The Polsky Center has used innovative initiatives like New Venture Challenge, now in its 20th year, to bring together students from different academic disciplines to take on challenges and challenges and different opportunities that exist, and not just energy in various areas. New Venture Challenge participants form actual companies and turn their business plans into actions. In all, Polsky Center Company has raised $450 million in total funding, which resulted eventually $3.4 billion in IPO funding and acquisitions. More than 140 companies founded through this program are still operating today. Many of the students who sign up for New Venture Challenge program never thought of themselves as entrepreneurs, but now they are. The second organization is called Clean Energy Trust. I co-founded Clean Energy Trust as a non-profit in 2010. Every year they host business pitch competitions called Clean Energy Challenge, where entrepreneurs pitch their businesses for prize funding. The Clean Energy Challenge has specific prize track for students and entrepreneurs that has produced a number of successful companies. Challenge companies have won about $3 million in total funding from Clean Energy Trust. and about $86 million in additional funding from various investors. These companies have created more than 300 clean energy jobs across Midwest. The most important work that Polsky Center and Clean Energy Trust do is helping create strong entrepreneurial ecosystems. Both organizations have played very important roles in Chicago and Midwest to provide support and resources to those who want to pursue their dreams. They do this through convening, through leadership, advocacy, and partnerships. This has made them go-to organizations for students, researchers, investors, corporate customers, government officials, and others who play vital roles in entrepreneurship and innovation. Just one great example I'd like to mention here is business that has resulted from the support of both Polsky Center and Clean Energy Trust called Luminate. Luminate was founded by two women. They were graduate students at the University of Chicago. In 2011, Anna and Andrea, their names, were on school trip together in Tokyo, where the tsunami had caused power blackouts and shortages across Japan. Responding to the need for lighting disaster, a relief situation, they developed a compact solar power light, LED light, that could quickly be shipped in large numbers by groups like Red Cross and others. Last year, they went on a TV show called Shark Tank, and they pitched their product and were selected with a major deal from the investor Mark Cuban, you heard. Now, you might think that these stories are only possible with Stanford engineering PhDs and Silicon Valley types of people, but it's not true. Andrea and Anna were both liberal arts undergrads. Shepherd University is already providing these great sustainability initiatives. This highlights the important role that liberal arts institutions can play in the field of energy. Every project that in Energy Bill has an important piece that connects to the liberal arts. We study wildlife impact of the potential projects, analyze power markets, shape state and federal policies, focus on customer psychology. So these disciplines are grounded on the liberal arts and are critical to the success of our business. And I tell you that in energy, we're, I call it technical company, but probably more than half of our employees are liberal arts graduates. Invenergy wants to help and connect these disciplines with the real world opportunities in West Virginia. So in 2010, our Beach Ridge Energy Project in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, became one of the largest and first wind farms in the state of West Virginia. Then last year, we expanded wind project. We added to include one of the largest battery storage installations in North America. These projects are an important source of local economic development through jobs, tax revenues, and payroll that gets back into the community. Today, I'm excited, very, very excited to announce the creation of Invenergy Shepherd University and Beach Ridge Internship Program. Through this program, Invenergy will hire Shepherd University students every summer for 8-week paid internship supporting wildlife biology data collection in the field at the Beach Ridge Project. As Professor Liu will describe later, battery storage technology is on cutting edge of the change in the industry. This internship will be an exciting opportunity for students to get exposure to the real-world applications of renewable energy and battery storage technology. So, the Shepherd University and Shepherd University students will undoubtedly shape the next chapter of innovation and economic opportunity in West Virginia. This is an important time and place for this conversation, and it's now. So I commend President Hendricks and Professor Liu and Professor Groff for their dedication to this work. It is an honor for me to be included in this day, and I look forward to our panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Polsky, for that extraordinary commitment to our future. We are just overwhelmed and most grateful. So it's my privilege to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Xingbo Liu, who's a professor and associate chair of research at the Benjamin Statler College of Engineering and Mineral Resources at West Virginia University. He is an expert in next-generation power systems and battery storage of sustainable energy, and we will look forward to his presentation now. Thank you.
Today I'm going to talk you something what we have been doing, hopefully, for next generation power generation system. Solid oxide fuel cell. Of course, I don't have those good interesting stories Michael has. I only have know some chemistry, which is boring. Basically, instead of burn the coal, now we generate power by bringing some syngas, basically hydrogen and carbon monoxide here. We react with oxygen like you burn, but instead of burning it, you have flame. We just have electrochemical reactions, and you use power in this way. Why we want to use it is very simple, because high efficiency. We talk about steam turbine, you can see. So-called current steam turbine is about 42%, or a little bit less. So-called next generation steam turbine, advanced also supercritical steam turbine, you run the 1400F steam, you can get about 47%. That's the maximum you can get. We always call natural gas kind of clean fuel, but actually natural gas has much less efficiency than the steam turbine. But for fuel cell, it starts from 42%. If you do it right, you can get to almost 60%. And if you do fuel cell and natural gas combined, you can get 70%. That's almost double as what you can have for gas turbine. What does that mean? That means for the same fuel, you get more power, or for the same power, you need less fuel. That can translate to money and to the environmental benefit. Where can it be used? In the US, so far, just here, Google, Amazon, and they use this because they cannot afford to lose any single second of power. You even heard about a company called Bloom Energy. They got $1.2 billion investment, and basically they have already got many installations for those companies. And of course, Delphi tried to put that in the APU for the trucks because visualize the diesel powered trucks to ship the goods, but you still need power to just provide some internal heating and air conditioning. And there's some company try to use SFC to power the lithium-ion batteries. And the only really successful commercial market is in Japan. And this is a SOFC system, and probably you see this knee with byte code, and I always collaborate with the Japan people. So this is one of my trips. One of my collaborators, which you cannot see this kind of hat here, that's Dr. Kishimoto. That's in his house, he bought a system. So far in Japan, already more than 20,000 SOFC systems sold. If you talk about fuel cell combined, because there's a bigger market on PAN fuel cell, it's more than 150,000 units. So to the regular customers. Okay, we just talked about so-called coal, and we know they cannot simply burn that anymore. This is a roadmap for next generation coal power system if coal still have a place in the future. We believe in the short future probably still. But instead of burning it, which you lost efficiency, also you have other environmental issue. Usually what you do, you're supposed to gasify it, make a syngas, and go through all kind of cleanup, and go through SFC system. And you still can couple with the gas turbine, steam turbine, gas turbine. And you can get more than 70% of the efficiency. And also, all the solid waste can be here, and the sulfur stuff can be used as raw material for the chemical industry. You have a pipeline, quality CO2 can pump to the underground because CO2 sequestration. So actually, this is roadmap for US developed, but now I think other countries are much more aggressive to catch up. In Japan, they already have Osaki project, which is kind of demonstration project, have very tight schedule. Okay, so sounds great. What we talk about, well, why to have major application in US, just like Michael said, no matter what you believe, at the end, market talks, it's money. Because so far, fuel cells still have major drawback in terms of installation cost and also instead also operation cost. So it's basically too expensive. So we are still working on these areas, and some of our stuff have already translated to industrial application. And this is the project, the first ARPA RPE founded project in WU. So far, this is WF2, the second one in COPR2. And we talk about shale gas. We know in this part of the country we have lots of shale gas. That's kind of translate a huge roadmap change about energy generation. Also, in this country, also that have lots of political implications because now we become first time in history, U.S. become energy output country, export country. But you may not realize for every shale gas pad we have, we waste about more than 17% of the gas just for leaking. And some of those you cannot recover. We call it flare gas, that's a good time to actually burn it. And lots of time we just don't know where they're going. And in the meantime, we also need lots of power to drill the gas out. So we use a diesel engine to power the well pad. That's probably the least efficient engine you can imagine to generate power. That's most convenient. So we work with some other partners to write a proposal about using SOFC to generate the power. You can use that in the drilling. In the meantime, convert the gas to methanol, which basically you can, as a liquid, you can truck out as a raw material from chemical industry. So that's RPE project. Anybody know about RPE? Anybody heard? RPE, okay. Anybody heard about DARPA? Okay, DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Program Agency. And basically, the agency invented GPS, internet, and some other stuff, which is probably the most innovative program in the country, but in DOD. So about 5 years ago, DOE, Department of Energy, created this RPE, basically simulate DARPA, mainly found most innovative and high-risk, high-reward research, basically kind of crazy research. And people didn't realize WU can do that same thing, and this is the first WU RPE project, so basically we said we are crazy too. And after that, John Lemon, the RPE program director, came to WU and helped us kick off the project. In the meantime, he will talk about what energy research looked like in the country. And that's the supply side. On demand side, you also have something you don't really like, but you do that all the time. Especially when you have more renewables, and you realize renewables are great, but in the meantime, they are not stable. Because today actually is not bad, it's supposed to have 3 inches snow, right? In that case, you do not have much sunlight and solar power. But in the meantime, you still need power, right? Because especially when you do not have power generated, you need more power to survive. And so that's within 1 day, that's within several days. Basically, the bottom line is you have lots of fluctuation on supply and demand. What about blackout? Anybody remember this picture? That's Brooklyn Bridge. But it's not irradiated for life. This 2007 started a big blackout in New York City. People walk back and forth to go to work, each way for everybody about 3 hours. It's a good exercise. You do it 1 day, maybe do it several days, you're tired. Basically, we have these kind of intermittencies between both supply and demand. What do you do with it? We can treat our grid like a busy highway without a few rest areas. Basically, very busy, but nothing can go wrong. If anything can go wrong on both supply or demand side, they have trouble. The problem is that always something goes wrong, right? So what do? Basically, you need a buffer, and the storage provide that buffer. People didn't realize even in West Virginia, we always say we have coal. We also have lots of wind. This is wind map in West Virginia. There are lots of places you can put wind turbines. I believe Michael's stuff is somewhere here, right there. And also people didn't realize, as a conservative state, as West Virginia have lots of first and largest energy storage project in the country. The first one, megawatt system, is in Charleston, West Virginia, owned by AEP. This is not for renewable, it's rather substation power control application. At that time was the biggest in the US. Of course, the battery is made in Japan. It's an NGK insulator made a battery. And this AEP Laurel Mountain project, at that time was the biggest battery pack in the US. It's a 98 megawatt wind power plus 32 megawatt lithium-ion battery made by E123 Systems. And the company formed by Professor Yimin Chang at MIT. And this is something we started to do a couple of years ago. And anybody heard about called Research Challenge Grant Program. And that basically is a state-supported research project. Scientific research is so important, we spend 0.5% of the lottery money to support research in this great state. So every 5 years, they have Research Challenge Grant Program runs through Division of Science. And they always fund 3 projects every 5 years, and 1 on science, 1 engineering, 1 on biomedical. That tells several things. So number 1, research is so important, we spend 0.5%. No, 99.5% goes somewhere else. Number 2, if you really want to help us, play more lottery. So in last round, we wrote a proposal to the state, and we got funded. The only engineering project they supported because we have been doing lots of fuel cell and battery research. We want to form a center to basically do more, and they believe what I said, so they give us $1.35 million. And Paul, you know, Mary, you know him, right? Paul Hill, Jen Taylor, they give me the check. It's a check to Symposium WVU for $1.35 million. I said, I'm glad to have the check. You cross off WVU, I'll be more happy. You can save time. Which they didn't. Basically, we have people from all other departments and college in the cross-campus WVU and somebody in law. And the reason for that is we will not only want to do research, eventually want to do some startup, and eventually want to take that in the real market. What we do, basically, you have seen this picture, that's a sodium-sulfur battery made in engine insulator. It's a tubular sodium-sulfur battery run at 350 degrees Celsius. It's great technology, but in the meantime, high temperature means 2 things. Number 1 is corrosion. Number 2, you spend about 14% of power just to maintain the battery, which means 14% of power wasted. So to reduce temperature, you have to change the design. In the meantime, you have to get a totally new, different material. As a material scientist, we work on that, and we have a patent already get approved. We have a couple more coming. And I forgot to mention some interesting guy. And that's Jen Taylor here. That's Imerjuk. You may not know him. He's the energy storage program manager at U.S. Department of Energy. He's a good friend of mine, also in charge of overall battery development in this country. And he came to help us kick off the meeting. And that's another friend of mine, a professor in Carnegie Mellon University. And he, through his own research, he has already got a $100 million investment to his own company on that type of sodium battery. And because the DOE learned what we do, and they like what we do, so they started to fund us as a DOE project on another system, lithium-ion battery, but for stationary application. Because you have to recognize battery and battery are different. Some of those good in the cars, because cars basically are limited to the weight, also need lots of energy density if we want to drive far. But if you use that as a kind of coupled with the stationary applications such as wind farms, you do not care about weight because you have to put on the land, but care more on the cost, also the safety. Okay, so this is really lithium-ion battery, but it's with solid electrolyte, which we have a patent on for the stationary application. A couple more on the nanostructure for the transportation battery we have been working on. There's several patents on that. And that's everything I want to talk about. And if you have interest with what we do, and send me an email. Or thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Our last speaker before our group discussion is Dr. Jeff Groff from Shepherd University. He's Associate Professor of Physics in the Institute of Environmental and Physical Sciences, and he is an expert in residential solar power, which he will share with us today. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk about solar and mostly small-scale solar power. And before I get into my talk, I want to spend a moment talking about environmental studies here at Shepherd, because we have a lot of great stuff going on. This fall, we have a new curriculum curriculum that's coming online, which we think is really going to give students a lot more flexibility to explore the many different dimensions of environmental studies. And we also have a climate change course that we're offering this year, this fall for the first time, being taught by a former National Weather Service meteorologist. And a new website where you can go and explore all the wonderful things that are going on, including our sustainability site, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And there's also a project that I just can't help myself I need to mention that I've been working on for a while now. I call it MTR and PLA. It stands for mountaintop removal and polylactic acid, which is a bioplastic. And coal plays a really important role in our current energy mix, but here in West Virginia, it's also, at least the practice of mountaintop removal is having a very dramatic impact on the Appalachian landscape. So the goal of this project is to communicate these changes more widely. So what we're doing is I'm working with our GIS instructor, Steve Schaefer, and a student, Samantha Blades, and we're using GIS to make three-dimensional models. These three-dimensional models then can be printed on a 3D printer, and there's a tactile aspect to this, and really is a way to communicate the changes that are going on. So what is distributed small-scale PV generation? Well, we're talking about photovoltaics, energy, sunlight directly into electricity. And when I say small-scale, that's somewhat subjective, depends who you ask. The Energy Information Administration keeps statistics and data on such things, and they say small scale is less than 1 megawatt, which would certainly include all rooftop and backyard ground mount type solar arrays that you would encounter. So certainly the vast majority of rooftop and backyard ground mount solar arrays, this is what we're talking about here. A distributed generator is a generator of electricity that's not part of central utility scale generation. They're spread out. And but they're grid connected, which means locally generated energy can be shared with other grid customers. And from my perspective, distributed small scale generation is really changing the way that we experience energy conversion, because it's situating the energy conversions close to where we live, and it's no longer some nebulous concept emanating from a faraway place. So I'm going to show you a few slides of examples of small grid-connected solar generator facilities here in our local community, and I'll start with one right here on Shepherd campus. This is the sustainability site, which has two solar arrays, one on a barn and one on a pole, that combine to produce about 3.2 kilowatts peak capacity. And what makes this site really unique is it's situated in the context of an environmental studies curriculum. So it's part classroom and it's part laboratory. And in combination with other sustainable projects on site, such as organic raised beds and aquaponics system, it's allowing us to teach students about sustainability and to make them more sustainably minded citizens when they graduate. It's allowed Shepherd to take a meaningful step toward a more sustainable future. This is in my backyard, and this is unique and special to me because I designed it, I built it, I sourced the components, and it was a great experience, a lot of sweat, a lot of dirt, and but in the end, it was a great experience, and I actually did this calculation. This array produced 0.000046% of all electricity in the state of West Virginia. And so we're talking small scale, but that was good for a third of our household consumption. Okay, good for about a third of our household consumption. My last example, this is the rooftop of the Shepherdstown Presbyterian Church, and 16.2 kilowatt array. And it was installed by Mountain View Solar, which is a solar outfit out of Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, which has done a lot of work in our sustainability site as well. And what makes this site really unique to me is the way it came into being. It was installed by Mountain View, but it was designed and financed by a local nonprofit called Solar Holler, which was founded by a Jefferson County native named Dan Conan. And the Solar Holler model, they get supporters of the organization to sign up to install little electronic devices on their hot water heaters. And this is by a company called Mosaic Power out of Maryland. And what this allows Mosaic to do is to control these army of hot water heaters. So during the day, or during times of day when the grid load is high, it costs utilities incrementally much more to satisfy that peak demand. Mosaic can trim that demand by shutting off hot water heaters, save utilities a lot of money, pass the savings on through, which eventually gets the Solar Holler to help pay down the financing of these projects. So it's a very different model than power purchasing type agreements that you might have heard from Solar City. Things like that. Another interesting connection here with Shepherd, Solar Holler is now working with another nonprofit called Coalfield Development Corporation down in Wayne County, and to retrain workers near the southern coal fields to be solar installers. And Coalfield Development Corporation was founded by a Shepherd graduate. His name is Brandon Dennison. Okay, so let me shift gears. I want to talk about the solar resource in general and talk about how we're doing at harnessing this resource and then take a look ahead. So the solar resource is tremendous. The world uses about 61 exajoules of electricity a year. So if you're one of my physics students, you know what an exajoule is. Everyone else, that's also 16.9 trillion kilowatt hours. So if you pay an electric bill, you know what a kilowatt hour is. But to put that into perspective, the Earth absorbs almost 4 million exajoules of solar energy every year. And the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change prepared a report that said at the bare minimum, the amount of this solar energy that's recoverable is about 1,500 exajoules, which is 25 times our current electricity consumption, and it's 3 times all primary energy consumption combined. So it's a huge, tremendous resource. So how are we doing at harvesting it? Our efforts have been accelerating pretty rapidly. Since at least the early 90s, the amount of installed solar capacity has been increasing more or less exponentially. And just last year, the United States added almost 43% to installed capacity for solar photovoltaic production. And this graph is showing the production as a function of month for all the blue is total solar photovoltaic production, and it's broken out into distributed generators, small scale rooftop type generators, and utility scale. And the distributed is the orange line. So what you find when you look at the data is in most states, the vast majority of states, distributed generators of solar energy are the major players. But when you look aggregately, they only account for about a third of total production in the United States. And the reason is because there's a few states that have extraordinary solar resources, like California, that have installed quite a bit of utility scale production in recent years. So there's lots of reasons for the rapid growth. Power purchasing agreement models, where a company will finance the installation of the panels, like Solar City, and then you agree to pay for that energy over the course of 20 years or so. That's helped a lot. A lot of states have state renewable portfolio standards, which require utilities to source a certain amount of their energy from renewable sources. West Virginia had something similar. It wasn't really that strong for renewable energy, but it was alternative and renewable energy portfolio standard, and that law was repealed last year. So we don't have anything like this in West Virginia right now. Certainly universities and businesses can play a role in growing solar capacity just by simply becoming generators themselves, like we have here at the sustainability site. And at the same time, all this growth is a huge engine for job growth as well. Last year, this is a pretty insane statistic, 1 out of every 83 new jobs created was in the solar industry. And there's now more workers in the solar industry, 3 times as many workers as there are in coal mining. Universities need to play a role in training this workforce. Here at Shepherd, by my count, we've had at least 6 students over the past 6 years who have done solar power-related projects with our external partners, such as Mountain View Solar. This gentleman right here, this is an alum from environmental studies, Jay Smith. He's a certified solar installer, and he now works for RER Energy Group as an operations manager. So I feel like we're doing our part. All right, so we've grown capacity tremendously. This slide is a reality check. I want to show you how much farther we have to go. The PV generation has been growing exponentially. I don't think we should expect this exponential growth to continue indefinitely. There's lots of reasons, including technical reasons, like the intermittency problem that needs to be solved. But with all the recent growth added in, current PV generation in this country is about 1%, less than 1% of all of our electricity generation. And I said about 3,000 gigawatt hours a month in PV generation. And this graph shows total electricity generation. And we're talking about 350,000 gigawatt hours per month. And another way to look at this is if we continue to add capacity like we did last year, it will still take 125 years just to match what coal currently produces for us. And coal itself is at about a decade low in terms of its role that it's playing in our electricity generation. So I'm telling you this, not to be discouraged, but that we're just at the beginning of a renewable energy transformation, and we will eventually get there. But I don't want you to underestimate the amount of commitment that it will take to get there. It's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of resources. Occasionally I hear someone say, we're going to convert to renewables in 10 years, or 5 years, 15 years. And I think that does perhaps more harm than good because it's messing with people's expectations about how hard the switch will be. So we'll get there eventually, but it's going to be a lot of work. All right, so to wrap up here, I want to give you one reason why I strongly feel that distributed solar generation needs to play a role in our future energy mix. And it's, earlier I said that the solar resource was tremendous, but it's also incredibly diffuse. It's spread out over the entire surface of the Earth. So when you take into account, a typical commercial grade solar photovoltaic panel efficiency of about 15%, solar cell technology will be generating about 150 watts per square meter when it's all said or done. So it takes a lot of real estate to do solar conversions at meaningful scale. And I'll give you an example here. This is the Agua Caliente solar facility in southwestern Arizona. It's a 290 megawatt facility and it covers 10 square kilometers. And so how many of these facilities would it take to match a 1,000 megawatt hour or 1,000 megawatt coal station? You might say, well, 290 into 1,000 is about 3.5. And you'd be wrong. It would actually take this many. And so about 8 1/3. And the reason has to do with, it's connected with this intermittency problem. It's connected with, the fact that we have night and day cycles. We have cloudy days. It has to do with capacity factor, which is how much energy is actually generated compared to how much could be generated if you're operating at nameplate capacity all the time. So coal facilities have capacity factors of about 60%, but solar arrays have capacity factors between 10 and 30%. Mine is, at my house, is 16%, and Agua Caliente's is 25%. Because it's in Arizona, they have a much better solar resource. So it would take a 2.4 gigawatt solar facility to replace that one coal station. And so that's a lot of real estate. And I'll just leave you with that thought. I feel we should use our rooftops instead of developing new land for these types of generations.
This has been the university's role in translating energy challenges into business and employment opportunities, a symposium moderated by Shepherd University President Mary J.C. Hendricks.